Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. I say welcome back, this is the first of its kind for me, being this side of the lens. I'm usually the other side, shooting people who essentially make riding bikes look good. Whether we can achieve that year today begs to be questioned, but we'll give it our best shot. So I bought a new bike last week, and it's a bike that's not very popular in the UK, certainly in the enduro racing scene. And had a few questions when I bought it, sort of, what the hell are you playing at type of thing. Why have you bought one of those? So I thought it'd be a good video to do. Get to know the bike, you know, see what it's all about, and see if the reputation is sort of built in the UK is warranted. You know, is there any truth in it? So I'm not going to waffle on too much. Without further ado, I don't know why I'm pretending it's a mystery what the bike is. It's probably the name in the title. But yeah, without further ado, let's get it out and let's get into it. So, the new horse rolling into the stable is none other than the big daddy, the biggest daddy, the KTM 500. Oh, 2025 6 Days edition. She is a beauty. I very nearly bought one of these bikes in 2015, but, well, 2016 it might have been. But I got turned off them really because everybody kept saying that they're not designed for racing. They are, I'll put it out there. They are trail bikes. They're green laners bikes. They're too big for racing. They're too heavy. So essentially, I didn't bother buying one. You've only got to look at the British Enduro Championship and, well, even the World Championship. I know the Spanish guy, Jaume Betrio, probably just killed his name there, but I know he rode one for a few years in the E3 class, and I know David Knight won multiple titles on them, but that was 2005, 2006, I think. But aside from those two guys, certainly over here in the UK and GP rounds in Europe, especially at their level, the top level of competition, you don't get too many riding the 500. You don't get many of that riding 450s as such. But especially the E3 class, that's pretty much exclusively for 300 two-strokes, you know, in the last few years anyway. Like I said, I haven't always, but I did have an itch to scratch with one of these big 500s a few years back, but got turned off them. I recently sold a Yamaha Tenere, which created space and money in the garage, and one of these became available, so I thought, why not give it a go? And when I looked at the numbers, this big old thing is not actually that big. So I think it was 1 point something kilos more than the 350 is. Now I know that's gonna feel a lot different. There's so much more inertia, there's a lot more engine braking. I thought the plan for this video would be to find out, and it's probably the name of the video anyway, so you know what the video's about, but to find out whether the KTM 500 EXC-F is actually too big to race. Is it just a green lane bike? Is it just a trail bike? I figured the best way to find the answer to these questions is to get the big girl on a start line. So I've gone ahead and booked myself onto the Simon Rees Memorial Hare and Hound up at Cwmythig Hill in Rhayader, home of the GP of Wales, where I've got 2.5 hours of cross-country racing ahead of me to help me decide just what this bike is intended for. But first, as mentioned, I've literally had 10 minutes riding time on this bike, so let's get some fresh Michelin tyres on, some mousses in those tyres, and take her out for a shakedown. I don't want to get wet feet. Oh! Oh, you bitch. Okay, you know. Yeah, she's definitely got some power. Oh, but she's plenty of plenty of going here. Look at all this rubbish. What is wrong with people? That was the wrong line. See if I can pull off from here. Definitely not. She's a 500, but she's no tractor. That's better. What I find with this, the last big 4-stroke I had was a 450 RX, which I bought last year after not riding for 4 or 5 years. And what I found with that is anything like this, it would just cut out all the time. It would stall so easy. Any sort of hesitation on the throttle, or you know, if the clutch wasn't on point, would flame out. I've already noticed within 15 minutes of riding this, it doesn't do that. There's one thing KTM does nice as well. Well, it's not KTM. And there's one thing Brembo does is make a lovely clutch. Hard option, I should say. And we can follow the gully all the way up. Well, there's this tricky little, it's always loose, this is. Let's give it a go, shall we? On the big 500, on Big Bertha, baby! First gear? No. I haven't really got enough run up for second. Do you need a run up on a 500? Surely not. This bike is sick. There's a single track, I'm not sure if you can see the line. And when I say single track, it's exactly what I say. Sort of 3 inches worth of a rut. You see how nimble she is across there. The 300 across here is lovely. Especially with no engine braking, just coasting through some of the corners. Let's see if the big girl is as nice. Better off in third, I think. Now roll in third. Avoid the mud. Little chicane. Too early to make the bold statement such as this, but this bike feels lovely. Bit of a turn track in the ferns, obviously you can't see it, the ferns are high, but it goes up on that bank, comes, anyway, you'll see it in a minute. Hopefully there's no big puddles around this corner here. Ah, yes. was overshoot that corner. Another test pass. That feels fucking lovely right there. You can lean it over. You can lean it over like it's, well, like it's a small, way smaller bike. The power is manageable. It's a lot, don't get me wrong. Started getting a bit of arm pump towards the last few laps then, but and you can feel yourself, you're getting lazy with the throttle. And you can definitely tell she's got a lot of power, but it's fucking lovely. I don't want to take it in the woods now, because I know it's not going to be as nice as the 300. I don't want to have to say anything negative about it. What a bike. Nearly gone down that bank multiple times. That was a success, I'd say. I'm buzzing for Sunday now, because in all honesty I thought that was going to be too much. I was going to feel heavy, sluggish, and yeah. But that thing feels, I don't want to say just like a 350, but it does. It feels like a 350 with more power. It corners nice. Everyone sort of says the bigger bikes, they don't want to lean, they want to, you know, they're harder to get into the corners, but well, it's early days. I rode it for just over an hour, so Sunday, and the whole point of this video of going up to Cwmythig and going straight in the deep end and riding a race with it will be interesting. I don't think I'll be any better or worse on that than the 300 two-stroke, which sort of feels like I wasted my money buying it, but so yeah, we'll get it washed off. I ain't gonna have time to do it now. Get it washed off and sorted. So I think that's it. Pretty much good to go. She's ready, I think. Am I? That's the big question. Give it a little blast off with a jet wash after yesterday's shakedown ride. Filled up with fuel. Lubed the chain. I cut this off the chain guard thing that sits there because that's just prone to getting choked up with mud and clogged up. Run through it with the T-handles and just made sure every bolt, there's no loose bolts. I got a weird obsession with checking these and obviously the other side torque to spec. And just generally give it a good once over. Always make sure these areas are clean. Learned my mistake once, many years ago, that giving you your stickers and they don't stick on because you've got silicone shine on these areas and obviously on the side panels and whatnot. Yeah, I think she's pretty much ready.
Pretty little lips gonna do to me, babe. single time that I come around, it seems you got another man trying to keep you down, baby. Well, you might think you're driving me insane, but I make the game that you're trying to play. You know, I think maybe you ought to know this ain't my first rodeo. I've been around long enough to know some things you can't take back, some things you just got to let go. Yes. Well, hell, I got Sammy on the phone, Nikki at home, trying to get along so I can be with you, babe.
Just having a little quick look at the track here at Cwmythig. Yeah, I'm hoping in the next 2 hours before the race starts, that sun comes out and burns a bit of this dew off, because this is slick. There's the famous cliff face that the GP boys go up. When I saw the photos of him setting this track out, I thought that was in. I'm glad it's not, because you would have been pressured into doing it. But we just go up the right hand side of it by the looks. So let's go and have a look at this bottom motocross track. Judging by the tape, it's pretty much like it usually is. Just follows the track essentially. That section there in the middle, the wide part, that's the bald that Verona got stuck in this year at the GP. Oh, that was tough. Very tough. I'll have to have a debrief in 5 minutes. Well. There we have it. The 500 EXC-F. What a bike. What a bike. Before we get into the question whether it is a race bike or isn't it a race bike, I just thought I would give a bit of my overview on it, on what I think of it so far. Albeit I've not tested it in a huge amount of scenarios. Cwmythig Hill's fairly fast, fairly flowing, fairly motocrossy. I really should put it to the test in a traditional time card enduro. I've got one coming up Sunday, the last round of the Welsh Championship, which is at the Caio. I'm tempted to ride this. My head says use the 300, but my heart says I want to give this a go. I'm nowhere near the top of the championship anyway, so it's not as if I'm going to lose anything if this is a bit of a pig in the woods compared to that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments if you think I should ride this or ride that, and maybe you guys can decide that for me. But the 500, what do I think of it? We'll start off with the power and the amount of it. There's a huge amount of power, obviously, in this bike, but it's delivered in a way that I think would shock a lot of people. It's manageable, it's smooth, it's almost sluggish off the bottom, it feels like, if you can even say that about a 500. It takes a while to get going, and the power, I'd imagine there's graphs of the power curve, but it sort of builds in slowly and then really rises up. So I suppose you can ride this bike aggressively if you keep it in that that right power curve. For somebody like myself who's not a massive rever, I don't rev the bike to the moon. I'm more of a lugger myself, which is probably why I'm a mid-pack clubman rider. But it suits my riding style massively. Just roll the power on smoothly, lower sort of revs, mid-range revs. I never go above. So yeah, it suited me down to the ground. The suspension is what it is when we go with the KTM. I know they get a lot of flack for the suspension components or WP components, but I've never noticed a problem, even in the older bikes I had when, supposedly the bad ones. The quick shifter, I really like that. That, when I first saw it, I thought it was just going to be a bit of a gimmick. I thought it was just one of those things, they've used to just, stick on the spec sheet as such. And essentially it is, but you save, I suppose, a little bit of time when you're shifting up under load. You've not got to back off the throttle or clutch the bike. You can just hook it up and it'll momentarily kill the power. But the main thing I liked about it is it sounds fucking cool. Really cool. What else can I say about the bike? It almost rides just like a 350. A 350 with a lot more power. But that is also its downfall. I've noticed, especially on this, anytime I do a hare and hound, 15 minutes in, I always get arm pump and it lasts for around half an hour. I noticed with this, I had it around the 15-minute mark and it lasted, I'd say, till about the hour mark, so sort of 45 minutes. And then it was on the edge of coming back quite a lot. I couldn't shake it off completely. Certainly if there was a couple of choppy uphill sections, and I noticed if my technique wasn't on point and I wasn't gripping the bike with my legs properly, reliant on your arms to keep yourself in the right position, then they would blow up straight away. And I just presume that's down to the endless amounts of torque this bike has got. Yeah, and that's pretty much my overview of the bike. Like I said, I've not rode it in a massive amount of scenarios yet. So the question on everybody's lips, well, probably the 50 of you that's going to watch this, is this a race bike or is it a green lane bike? I hate watching YouTube videos and reviews on stuff that don't give a clear-cut answer to a clear-cut question. It's black and white. Is it or isn't it? But if I could rephrase it and say, is this 500 EXC-F a enduro bike that I would recommend to somebody that predominantly races and they live here in the UK? The answer to that, so me personally, that I tick those boxes. The answer to that would be no. I don't think it's a bad option. but it's certainly not the best option. I just think it's a handful to manhandle around. Certainly sort of 4 hours into a time card enduro, or going out for your last lap of a time card enduro, and you've got 20 miles of Welsh forestry ahead of you. You know, rooty, snotty, yeah, you know the stuff, tight, technical, twisty. I think this is a lot of bike to wrestle around, you know, when you're that deep in the hurt locker. A 350 is a lot more manageable, albeit it's a bit more aggressive, a 350, or a bit more snappy. There's just not that amount of torque to sort of want to pull, you know, get away from you. So yeah, that was the question. If I could reword the question, that would be it. Obviously, I don't live in America or the US. That's the same place. Or Australia, where they've got the flat out desert racing and, you know, the fast paced stuff. I think if I did, and there's obviously the reason why these bikes are huge sellers in places like that, it comes into its own. It's smooth, it's powerful, and it's just comfortable. That's the best way to describe it. Who do I recommend this bike to here in the UK? So if I was predominantly a green laner or trail rider, but 2 or 3 times a year I also wanted to throw myself into a hare and hounds or time card, this would be the bike, I think. You know, something that you can ride from house, and, you know, it's comfortable on the road at 60, 70 mile an hour on the way to the trails, and then manages the trails simply enough, then yeah, this would be it. Because even when on the odd occasion you wanted to throw yourself into a sprint enduro or time card or hare and hounds, you're not massively, you know, disadvantaged with this thing. You know, if you're in shape, you've got good technique riding the bike, then yeah, it just goes to show how Betrio, I learned how to say his name, you know, he managed it at the world level. David Knight obviously managed it at the world level. So yeah, it's not unraceable. I just don't think it's the first choice for somebody that races here in the UK. And yeah, I don't want to waffle on too long. That's about it. If you've got any questions about the bike or anything else, let me know in the comments, obviously. Now the racing's coming to a bit of a close this year. I do plan on doing some more videos like this. If it's something that you enjoy, let me know. I'm planning on doing a direct comparison between this and the 300 two-stroke, sort of KTM's biggest 4-stroke versus KTM's biggest 2-stroke, and seeing how they fare off, you know, going up, setting the test up and riding it against the clock, sort of back to back, and interesting to see how that goes. So if that's something you think you may be interested in, feel free. I'm not saying it. Feel free to, and yeah, that'll do for today. Thank you very much.